Hello, it is Rachel from 7 and All, and I am coming to you with a June homeschool and life update. I'm going to be chatting about all the things, homeschool updates, as well as baby updates, and just how life has been and how managing all of that this month has been. So I'll start off with homeschool. For homeschool, this has kind of been a month where we've been finishing up the old levels of our schoolwork. We started this school year really in October once we got home from our travels in the US. So we started at the beginning of October, so maybe finishing up levels a little bit on the late side, but we've been finishing up levels and then jumping right into the next level, because that tends to be how I roll, is like, oh, you finish this one day, we start the new thing the next day. But what has been so fun is that my son has been so excited about finishing up his book. He's been so excited about getting to see the new book and seeing what activities are in the new book. So we finished up All About Reading Level 1, and he started All About Reading Level 2. He's very amazed that this one has a frog theme instead of the dog and star theme. So we've done, I think, about the first 3 lessons in this so far, and it starts out pretty easy because the first couple lessons are just review. He was really excited to finish up that one big level, which that's a pretty good accomplishment, to finish All About Reading Level 1, jump into Level 2, and I love this stage of where they're really excited about finishing the old books, starting the new, and really getting to see that enthusiasm. We've also started first grade math with confidence after finishing kindergarten math with confidence. Something else I've learned is that my son cannot resist once he gets to a short span of the end of the workbook. He can't resist that. He's like, we gotta finish it today. So with this math, as well as with his primer program, once he got to about 2 weeks, maybe a little less than 2 weeks left, he's like, let's just finish it. So he just wanted to do all the worksheets, finish the whole thing. So we started first grade math with confidence. I think we are in week 3 of this now. And he's also started Alpha from Math. So it's been like all new levels starting, old things finishing, beginning of something new in June, which has been really fun. I mean, it's fun to start the new level, right? For my little guy, we've been chugging right away at Gentle and Classical Preschool, and we're actually, I think, finished Unit 6, gonna start Unit 7 this next week, which I feel like that's flying by super fast. But one of our favorite, all of the books of the week have been a hit, but one of their favorites of the last few weeks is actually La Semillita, which when I did this round the first time, I felt like this book was a little bit long and challenging for my boys, who were, I guess they would have been about 3 and a half and not quite 2 at the time back then. But this time they were like, as soon as I finished it, they're like, read it again, mama. Which that's their highest compliment for a book, is the minute I finish it, they're like, okay, now I know the best idea, just read it all over again. They've been doing that with several books recently, but this has been one of them. La Semillita, the Spanish version of The Tiny Seed. It is really good. I mean, it's a great educational story, watching the whole life cycle of a seed and getting to the end. And with this one, they had a very good reason why they wanted to read it again, and they explained it to me. It's because the story is going to happen again. The seeds are flying away. That's right where this story started. So they picked up on that, and that's why they wanted to read it again as soon as I finished reading it. My little guy is also doing fabulous with the memory statements. Memory statements have just been overall a big hit in our homeschool so far. I do incorporate the songs when there are songs that go along with the memory verse or catechism question. I have Spotify on my phone, so we'll play it in song form because songs always help with memorization. I can still sing those lyrical life science songs that I learned back in the 90s. That's the only reason I know that DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid from lyrical life science. So songs do stick around with you. So I use those, and then we've been continuing our stories around the world, our Around the World Through Picture books from Beautiful Feet Books. And we are in India right now. We started India this week, and we've read just a couple books so far. Once a Mouse and The Story of Little Babaji. feel like we read something else too. Okay, I'll have to remember it. But these are the books that I know we've read so far. All of the books for India so far have also had the response of, as soon as I finish reading it, they want to read it again. That happened with Once a Mouse, which is pretty much a fable type tale. The illustrations are really fabulous with this woodcut style, a simple fable. And the story of Little Babaji has a little bit of a bumpy history. It's over 100 years old, written by a foreigner who had lived in India. It's had some changes over the years to help update it, to keep up with our better understanding of how to write about different cultures. So it has that bumpy background to it, and I know about that, but when you're thinking about 3- and 5-year-olds, it is definitely a story that just really has an appeal. And actually this has become one of my 3-year-old's most requested books. And the other day he was asking me, hey, can you read Little Babaji? But I'm like, we're not at home and the book's at home. What do you want me to do? He's like, well, just tell it to me. Just tell me the story. Don't need a book. He's like, surely you have it memorized by now. Probably I do. We've also started our Sunlight Science. We finished up Gentle and Classical Nature. We've done now the first 3 weeks of Sunlight Science. And one criticism that I hear sometimes about Sunlight Science in the early levels is that you kind of stay on one topic for a long time. So Sunlight Science K begins with 4 weeks on ants. And some people are like, that seems horrible to spend 4 weeks on ants. For us so far, like, we're gonna do 1 more week of ants, and I don't think they're gonna be bored of ants. Granted, I have kids that really like ants. Ants are a fairly big part of their lives. They love to catch them outside. There's ants everywhere here. Ants in the house, you can't leave any food out or the ants will get into them. This is life on the edge of the jungle. But I think because our schoolwork is not primarily science focused, like the science is not a huge part of our schoolwork at the moment, it doesn't feel like our life is wrapped up in studying ants right now. It's just like, oh, this is part of our morning time. We read about ants or we do our science experiment, and like it still keeps their attention, but it's not like the all-encompassing thing that we're doing with our time, if that makes sense. Like it's not an all-encompassing theme. It's just the theme of what we're studying in science right now. And the worksheets have been going great. The experiments, they've all worked for us. The 3rd experiment was especially exciting because that was one where we put yeast and sugar and warm water in a bottle and taped a balloon to the top of it, and the boys got to see the balloon fill up with air, and that was incredibly exciting for them. I also, like, if I have a theme and I have extra books on the theme or somewhat connected to the theme, I'm gonna read them, you know. Use your library, use what you have. So we also read this book a couple times over the past couple of weeks, which is much more of a math story, if you're not familiar with this. It's a little bit about division, multiplication, or arrays, depending on how you look at it. But 100 hungry ants, and it's about ants going to find food, which was great because our theme this week in particular was about how ants find food in a scientific sense. But then they love this book and will definitely listen to it on repeat as well. I forgot to mention, for learning about India, other than just reading books, I have also taken the opportunity to show the boys a clip from probably the best dance scene in Bride and Prejudice. I grew up with that movie, and it's not necessarily a movie I would show to my kids at this age, but you know, you can show them some of these dance clip scenes. And my sisters grew up really loving the Bollywood movie Happy New Year, so they want to show them some of the dance clips from there, because Bollywood is a very big part of India's contribution to the world, to culture and entertainment. And I probably am not going to make any special food for the India unit, just because we have so much good Indian food all around us, and dal and roti and chapati is a huge part of my boys' lives already. But just helping them to associate that, oh, this comes originally from India and from Indian cultures. Building these little ideas of awareness of the world is definitely something we're working on during these early years. Now for a life update and what's been going on through the month. As I announced about a month ago, I am expecting a baby right now, and I'm really happy because as at the time I'm filming this, I'm 16 weeks along. So thankful to have been carried this far. Really thankful for all these weeks. I would say that I am feeling a little bit better as getting into the second trimester. I'm not feeling like amazing or anything, but I can feel a little bit of the brain power starting to come back, which you'll see when I update you on some Where'd You Learn That materials in a few minutes. And I'm still having to be really on top of managing nausea, eating, diet, but not nearly as bad as before. I did end up hospitalized for 2 nights this month, and that was because I caught a stomach virus, which was not a good combination with already morning sickness and also just kind of the higher needs to not be dehydrated or higher risks of dehydration when you're pregnant. So actually several people in my family caught the virus, but nobody was nearly as sick as I was for some reason. And so ended up in the hospital for about 48 hours on an IV, getting fluids. Really thankful for good medical care. And of course that was really worrying because my only thought is like, you know, how can my body take care of the baby if I'm not even healthy enough? But thankfully we were able to check on baby, and baby's doing just fine, growing right along. So really thankful for that. But that was something that took a little bit of recovery time and gaining a little bit of strength back after that. Actually, before I got sick, my parents had taken my 2 boys on a little summer vacation just for 3 nights, a short road trip away to a less city-ish area, a place where you can just go on hikes and relax in the woods, kind of more of a cabin, guest house feel to where they stay. And my husband was working, and I was like, you guys can take the boys if you want to, take them on your vacation, but I do not feel up to traveling at all. It's like a long, winding highway. Like, you're not gonna want me on this trip, and I don't wanna be anywhere outside. I'm far away from my house and my doctor and all that. So actually, I just stayed home and had a couple of quiet days while my boys got to at least have a summer vacation adventure for a few days earlier this month. So those are kind of the main happenings of the month, I guess. My boys went on a little vacation, and I got hospitalized about a week after that. And now, hopefully, things will be, you know, just a little bit more normal and stable for the next few weeks. Speaking of my brain power starting to come back after a few months of feeling like a zombie, we are getting some new releases at Where'd You Learn That, my website for homeschool printables. This one has been in the works for a very long time. The Arizona State Study. This is our 3rd state study in the series. I love this series. I love the concept behind our state study series, where it's not just about fun facts about the state, but you learn significant features of its history, of its culture, of its economy and ecology. These are very high quality, I can attest to you. However, they are also a lot of work to produce. So I think I understand why people don't usually make state studies to this level or like this, including this much depth, because it takes a lot of work. So the state studies have been a lot on the research and writing side, and also a lot for my illustrator sister. But we got our 3rd one done, and the 4th one has been started. They are just a little bit slower in the progress because they need so much work from different contributors. And something else that should be coming to you soon will be the literature guide for the 2 towers. I'm pretty far along in creating this, and absolutely these are fabulous books, especially when you dive into the writing craft and the writing craft of Tolkien. The work that he put into creating these, the literary devices that you can see and the characters. It's really cool. I'm excited about some of the topics that are coming out in this literature guide, but that one will be coming to you probably sometime in July. All right, that is my homeschool update. Let me know, what are you doing this June? Are you still rolling along with homeschooling? Have you adapted to a summer routine? Have you had any vacations? Hopefully no hospitalizations. Let's try to keep everybody healthy and safe. And I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.